Welcome to IVF This, episode 63, It's Different for Our Partners. Welcome to IVF This. I'm your host, Emily Ginn. I'm a mother to two beautiful and feral boys. I'm married to my favorite person in the world. I'm a social worker, a life coach, and an IVF warrior. I'm here to teach you how to manage your mind and emotions during your IVF journey, to break free from anxiety and regain control of your life, even in the midst of infertility. I'm going to teach you to say IVF this to how we think about, talk about, and experience infertility. Let's go. Hello, my beautiful friends. I hope you're doing very well. Now, today's episode is going to be a bit different than my usual format. I will get back to talking about coaching concepts and things like that next week, but this topic has been on my heart for a while, and so I just wanted to share it with you. It's going to be more of like a pep talk or a quick hit to refer back to when you're struggling with your partner or really any relationship. I will preface that this does not apply if there are any of the 3 A's that are present. And the 3 A's are abuse, addiction, or adultery. That's not what this is for, and that's not what coaching is for. If you're experiencing any of the 3 A's in your relationship, I implore you to seek out some counseling and for you to ensure that you're as physically safe as possible. What this episode is for when you're feeling distant from your partner or maybe resentful because they don't seem to be where you are in terms of grief or trauma or even the emotions that they're experiencing or displaying. I've heard countless women talk about how their partner is wonderful and supportive, but sometimes they don't really get it. This concern that they don't have the same level of commitment or emotional investment in the process as you do, or that you feel like you can't connect with them in a way that you really feel like you want to or should. Now, this might not be you right now, and that's fine. This might not ever be you, but this does happen. And in full disclosure, I very much felt this way throughout several parts of our journey. Not the whole time, mind you, but through different seasons of our journey. He didn't take, particularly at the very beginning, right? He didn't take the month-to-month devastation like I did. And honestly, it was often that he was kind of confounded by how hard it was on me emotionally. My husband was much more resistant to the idea of IVF than I was. The high cost without guarantee scared him, rightfully so. He's a numbers guy. He's an economist. And so risk versus reward, opportunity costs, and financial stability and freedom have always and will always be in his calculus. And of course, this hyper-logical individual fell in love with a sassy, flight of fancy, spontaneous, outspoken dreamer. Because of course he would. Oh, and he's also a foot taller than me. So the whole opposites attract really does hold true for us. And in some of the most wonderful and ridiculous ways. I will have him on the podcast one of these days because I think it would be amazing for him to share his perspective with all you and what the journey has meant for him. But I digress. It's a normal human experience to walk through a difficult challenge and to feel isolated, alone, unsupportive, resentful, angry, whatever it is that you might be feeling or you might have felt. That doesn't mean it's true that you're isolated, alone, or unsupportive, right? Our feelings are not evidence of some greater truth. They are a byproduct of our thinking. One thought that I held on to very tightly was that he just doesn't understand. He just doesn't get it. I waited for him to be in the same place as me with grief, with impatience, with all of it, standing right next to me in the thick of it. I was waiting for him to catch up. But really the truth was he didn't need to catch up. His experience was different. Not lesser, not superior, but different. He was never going to feel the way I felt because he was not me. He felt the grief in his own way. He felt the impatience in his own way. I think in many ways, I was so heavily seeped in grief, impatience, anger, resentment, self-imposed isolation. I kind of stopped giving him the benefit of the doubt. I stopped giving him room to be him, an opportunity to have and to express different, sometimes vastly different experiences than I was having. This doesn't mean that I was a terrible person or a terrible wife or a terrible partner. And if that's you, it doesn't mean those things for you either. It just means that we're human. I was a human that had never been introduced to coaching or thought work like I have now. What I know now is that his lack of lived experience in my body, thus his inability to truly understand what it was like for me, was never a bad thing. Love, support, compassion, and empathy can exist without the understanding and nuance of what you are experiencing. They can exist without the same lived experience. And this is true for any of our partnerships, as well as relationships, friendships, anything in our lives. Our partners in particular have a very unique infertility experience themselves. They often feel helpless as they watch us navigate the mental, emotional, and physical toll of infertility. When we can see their experience as different, without judgment, it's not right or it's not wrong, we open ourselves up to the possibility of being in the act of holding space for them. Now, what does holding space mean? Heather Piet, hope I'm not butchering her name, describes it as the willingness to walk alongside another person in whatever journey they're on without judging them, without making them feel inadequate, without trying to fix them, and without trying to impact the outcome. When we hold space for other people, we open our hearts, we offer unconditional support, and we let go of judgment and control. And the really beautiful part about holding space for other people is its practice for holding space for ourselves, and vice versa. Holding space is one of the most beautiful and intimate gifts that you can give yourself and your partner in any relationship that you have in your life. And that is what I want for each of you. That beautiful, intimate gift. Okay, I know it was a short one this week, and I will have more for you next week, but I want you to have a beautiful week, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of IVF This. If you like what you've heard, click subscribe and follow to make sure you don't miss an episode. And if you want to learn more, head over to www.ivfthiscoaching.com to learn how to work together.